That is Aunt June's nephew? Her mother smiled and nodded. That should be right. At this time, she will definitely only bring him over. Dion's breathing became rapid. All of a sudden, she was so nervous that she held her hand together under the table. When she saw they are approaching, appearance is not the most important things. We still need to look at character, understand? Her mother reminded softly she believed that June will not introduce them bad person to meet, right? They greeted each other and sat down together. Let me introduce. This is my nephew, Jungkook. Jungkook, this is my colleague's daughter. She is Dion. Hurry up and greet her. He didn't come willingly. After sitting down, he was cold. Even after June said he didn't move. Dion smiled and reached out her hand. Hello, my name is Kim Dion. You can call me Dion. Her voice was soft and smiled purely. He lazily lifted his eyelids. His cold gaze landed on girl's face. Hello, Miss Kim. But he didn't extend his hand. His voice was cold. That made three women stunned. Dion already said him to call by her name, but he used formalities instead. Wasn't this awkward? Jungkook. Jiyoon glared and gritted her teeth, but he didn't have a necessary reaction. Dion smiled awkwardly. I'm sorry, Aunt Jiyoon. Don't blame him. I'm a little familiar with him. Mr. John is doing very well. After all, we just got to know each other today. We really need to be polite. June knew that Diane was such a good girl. She is so understanding that almost reached her heart. June looked at her apologetically. Diane, I'm very sorry. There is nothing wrong with my nephew. The only thing is that it's hard to get along with others. He has always been this cold. You see, he's not even willing to give face to his aunt. So don't mind it, but he's the kind of person who is cold on the surface and warm on the inside. After you guys get along with each other, when he heard, he could not help but frown. Cold face and warm heart? Why didn't he know he was that kind of person? Dayon looked at Jungkook with greater satisfaction. She didn't think that he would not give her face like that. On the contrary, she had a better impression of this kind of man who was as clean as an iceberg. She was outstanding and she didn't lack anything. The people in her college were attentive to her. She had dated some boys before but got disappointed. She really didn't get the man who was especially passionate. She don't like to share anything, and the handsome man like him, who was as cold as an iceberg, was exactly what she wanted. As long as she worked hard, the iceberg would melt one day, then he would be her alone. Her heart moved. She is the younger daughter of the family. She would not hide anything. The satisfaction in her eyes and the shyness on her face were all revealed. Her mother knew that her daughter's heart is moved, as she is really obvious. Both elder went out, giving space to talk. Daewon didn't speak and lowered her eyes shyly, and Jungkook also remained silent. She was little embarrassed and secretly glanced at him at the same time. He was sitting there without any expression, as if he didn't feel the slightest bit of awkwardness. She smiled and looked at him. Mr. John, do you want something to drink? She called the waiter and looked at opposite Mr. John. She finally raised his eyes. Black coffee. It was true that words were as precious as gold. She told the waiter and thanked him. She looked at Jungkook and lowered her eyes. What does Mr. John usually like? He looked at the girl in front of him coldly. It was obvious that she was a young woman. He didn't have interest in this woman, but he came because of his little aunt. Does Mr. John only work? Could it be that he doesn't have any other pastime or something? She continues but didn't get answers. Miss Kim. He looked at her. Her eyes met his deep and dark eyes. Let's end this blind date. She was stunned. What? Her expression changed and quickly stand up. Mr. John, do you have a girlfriend? He stood but didn't answer. I believe Aunt June will not lie to me. If you have a girlfriend, she will not introduce you to me. Since Mr. John doesn't have a girlfriend, why he isn't willing to continue this blind date? She spoke very fastly, as if she was afraid that Jungkook would disappear in front of her if she delayed. He didn't say anything. She took a deep breath and walked around in front of him. Are you trying to say that you came here today to deal with your aunt? Otherwise, you wouldn't be here at all. He frowned. Since you know, don't block my way. But Aunt June and my mother just left. If you also leave, then a girl like me would lose a lot of face. Just treat it as helping me until this blind date ends. Is that okay? She is beautiful and have high IQ and EQ. She could use this kind of method to deal with this kind of cold man. Normally, if he had the slightest bit of tender affection for women, he should have stayed behind even if he was unwilling to stay, so she wouldn't be discouraged. There will be another chance. She raised her head to look at him with her pleading eyes that was full of stubbornness. He was not a person who cared about others' feelings. What did it have to do with him, whether she had face or not? But when this woman looked at him with her head up, that deep desire in her eyes actually looked like a certain woman in his memory. Once that woman had also looked at him with this kind of gaze. Why did he think again? The number of times he missed that woman and the past few days become frequent. Mr. John, she called him softly. He seemed to have fallen into a deep thoughts. He looked at her in front of him and saw the woman's shadow. I'm really sorry. I know my request may be a little overboard, but he returned to his chair and sat down again, then spoke coldly. Don't bother me. Her face lit up with joy and quickly returned to her seat. That was great. This man's face was cold and his heart was warm. On the surface, he looks like a block of ice. However, there was a fireball burning inside. As long as she could hold on, she would definitely be able to melt the ice that wrapped around the fireball. She smiled bashfully. He told her not to bother him, and she didn't speak again, but looked at him time to time. The more she looked at him, his appearance was very suited to her taste. Many handsome men came to pursue her, but this was the first time that she came to persuade someone. Loser belongs to kind of feminine handsomeness, but this man gave her a very different feeling. This man is in front of her was very masculine and aura was very strong. Kind of man that she wanted to find. She made a decision that even if she wanted to give chase this time, she would not hesitate to give it try in him. It was not that Jungkook didn't notice that women's eyes were looking at him randomly. The irritation in his heart increased. Why did June let him come to such a boring place? If she wanted to find a woman for him, she could just grab any. Why she just had to find the daughter of a friend? He was extremely unhappy. 5 minutes, he suddenly sat. Before Taeyeon could react, he got up and left without looking back. Only then she came to her senses and looked at the time. So the 5 minutes was the time he stayed there. Even though that wasn't planned, she didn't get angry. Instead, she remembered this person wholeheartedly. She happily sent message to her cousin sharing her day. Her cousin was famous female star, so it will take time to get reply back. She did mind. Assistant director tell that the female star wanted some dress. Jenny wondered if this female star also be the arrogant like the actress of before. There wasn't problem as long as cooperation was good to begin with. You got a call from the manager of the female stars after confirming to meet in the company with a friendly manner. In the company, Sonwo was specially friendly, but the strictness that Jenny showed was another level. You and Jenny didn't know if the star will come by herself or only manager will be show up. Jenny did collect some information about the star that recently casting on drama called Snowdrop. She was young idol girl, many people paying attention on her. She have natural excellent beauty. The key is that she was born from a rich family and she is good. Her visual attracted people. Next day, the manager got out of the car first and looked around carefully, making sure that there wasn't any reporters. He asked female star to get out of the car. Jisoo, you can come down now. You and Jenny watched this scene from the side. Girl jumped from the car. She put hat, mask and glasses covering her pretty face. She don't want to get filmed on the way. Manager noticed and asked doubtfully, you too? Hello, this is designer Eva and I'm Eva's assistant, Kim Jenny. She introduced. Manager mode, so you are designer Eva. Nice to meet you. I am the manager of Kim Jisoo. Jenny led the way to the office. The female star came following behind her manager as if she was afraid that someone will notice her. After seeing you, her eyes lit up. Are you Eva? You looked at her surprised and bowed a little. Hello, do you know me? She removed her mask and smiled at you. I remembered you. You were confused. What she meant that she remembered you? I attended a fashion week overseas year ago. The designer of the outfit that I liked was Eva's. I asked the staff who Eva was, and I just happened to see you in the VIP seat. You are really too pretty, so I remember it at first place. Her sentence made you stunned. She actually saw you overseas and still remember. Is that so? You had participated in many fashion week and you couldn't recall which one. After all, it was just happened and you were too busy on it. She wanted to go meet you, but situation catch her to come back to the country earlier. Jisoo talked about the design that you made and she don't have any special demand on her clothes. It will be okay as much as it made by Eva mean you. Jenny and you were nervous that what will other parties say, but this female star was too easy to handle, and not to mention that she is fan of your designing. Her appearance was like a little girl. She's very friendly and full of passion. She was so infectious. She spent her good hour talking about your design and freezing. At last, she takes some pictures and autograph. She was so passionate that you couldn't reject. You are one of her role model that inspired her. You just started company and this famous star happened to cooperate happily. Ava is your English name and your Korean name is Kim Sarang. So that's how you introduce yourself to the customer. Jisoo also added you to her WeChat and asked permission to add pictures that click with you on her WeChat moment. Helplessly, you smiled and sent her personally downstairs. It was quite fantastical. You held meeting because customer was came so soon and the designer are surprised as well because they didn't expect to get orders in such a short period. Designer got work to make draft in 15 days. Dress have to be ready and team wasn't happy for that because stretching draft wasn't simple things, but the principle of this company was to satisfy customer so everyone gets in the work by now. We still have 15 days, so guys, get your designing draft done. They are displeased. The women who rely on men, how would know that making design wasn't easy, yet still commanding to finish work within 15 days. But they just started to do. Jisoo messaged you on the WeChat about the work. She's really friendly to you and it's strange because she behaves like close friend with you. She sent some message to you but didn't get reply. Her manager told her to view on her cousin's message. She seemed to irritated knowing the reason, but her cousin messaged her. It's blind date again. She updated pictures that clicked in the company back then with the status. Not long after she received her cousin's message, cousin, so you are online. I thought you had been filming until now. Jisoo hit on her own forehead as she forgot to block her cousin. On which at moment, her cousin tell that she had met handsome man in the blind date and sent pictures of a man. Jisoo didn't pay attention at first, but then take a look that made her stunned. Man was top quality. What kind of luck Dion have this time? But this man looked familiar. Dion proudly replied that this man was the man all girls dream about in the city, director John of the John Group, John Jungkook. She heard that the man was elite in the business world, but actually he's the big shot in the business circle. Jisoo never interested on businessman, so he didn't knew that kind of handsome mans are the successful businessman. How came this type of perfect man needed to go on a blind date? When there will be many girls asking for chance, maybe her cousin was deceived. How could such a man have conditions to go on a blind date with her? This cousin of her is too awesome. Dahyun noticed the WeChat moment and the status. She asked happily if the woman beside Jisoo was also a celebrity, but Jisoo introduced that woman was the overseas designer called Eva. She recommended her cousin it will be good started if she can push the business card for you over, and she did. Very next day there was a guest at the door. You naturally welcomed guests who came to visit. Actually, I was recommended by my cousin. She directly revealed her identity and you guessed it who the person is. You showed your honor and introduced her that designing. She requested you to design for her personally. After signing another contract, you are happy. Maybe she will also attracted another for you. Business run like this. You didn't give her high charge to personally design by you. It was just a treat of the company having new customer. You and Jenny decided to make price tag for the future customer when you all gathered to inform designer to have a active work. You found Choi Bongyo wasn't present in the company. That guy was too cold to talk and his design was strange, like another level of mysterious. He took a day off. His design attracted you. There was something else in his design. It has been 2 days since Kim Dahyun visited last time in the company. Then she called early in the morning as she got some thoughts to add some design on her dress. Your colleagues don't know that you are also designer yourself. They just know that you are only the CEO of the company.